Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to your Monday night. Yes, it is I, the one and only Redneck Mr. JT, or as Micaiah likes to say, the Redneck Geek. I hate that. But I am back once again with our good friend Sully, the actual geek. This week we are reviewing Loki episode number 5. So do me a favor, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage or whatever it is you want to drink, something to snack on. Sit back in that big favorite chair of yours and enjoy the ride. Sully, it's all yours.
Oh, I thank you very much. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Avenger Pretenders, where this week's episode of Loki and Avenger Pretenders is actually sponsored. What?
Yeah, buddy.
What?
Yeah.
That's right. Sponsored. It's crazy. We
Sponsored by who?
well, the good thing is Marvel Strike Force. That's right.
Oh.
It's a nice little mobile app game that is building and building up craziness when it comes to being on phones and tablets, and you can download it and help us out. The QR code is right here on the screen. You can scan it with your phone, download the app, and help us out. It's pretty cool if you ask me. Just saying.
I love it, man. I love it. That is truly awesome.
It is, isn't it? And the QR code will be up on the main screen for, well, the better part of the entire show, because why not? And we'll refer back to it. So Marvel Strike Force, if you haven't downloaded it by now, scan the QR code and help us out. I'm going to do it because it literally just happened today.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Micaiah says, say what?
I know, right? Craziness. Craziness, I tell you. Craziness. So, yeah, Marvel Strike Force. Download it for your mobile phone, your tablet. I don't know if you could do the computer.
I just looked at it, and no, you can't.
No, you can't. So it is for mobile purposes only. So make sure you help us out. Scan it, and of course, tomorrow's show will be sponsored as well. So help us out. It'd be great. Great.
Yeah, let's see here. Put that QR code back up there, buddy.
Oh, sure.
If you would, please.
Absolutely.
Well, it wouldn't be right if I was telling everybody else to to scan the code and download it and everything. If I don't do it,
right? You got it. You just
so.
Take your QR code scanner, and boom, the link will pop up. It's that easy, and it'll ask you if you want to install it, and you say install. And there you go. You get credit where credit is due. So the campaign is up for, I believe, about a week. So we're gonna try and do this for as long as we can, and hopefully, maybe I can get another stream going on. Look at that, JT even installed it. Look at that. That's how easy it was. Scan the QR code. Help us out. The exclamation Marvel in chat will be up shortly. I'm still working on that. It was just one of those things where I'm like, oh, I got to get this done because, yeah, it happened that quickly. It's crazy, I tell you. Crazy. So, if you haven't downloaded it by now, please help us out. Download it and start playing the game. Yes, I am eating some Swedish fish as well because I went, you know what? I need some sugar. I needed some sugar today.
That's all right. I'm munching on some lovely green grapes.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. I love it.
Good stuff, Maynard.
It's good stuff. So, obviously, help us out. It'll be great. It'd be great if you do. This week's episode, oh boy. Let me tell you. Loki. The show really does get you in the feels sometime. It really does. Lady Death says she's very confused by it, and that's okay.
It took me a minute to figure out what was going on too, but I got there. I actually got there. So
Which is
we're
good.
doing good.
Which is good. I'm glad you got there because, quite frankly, this has been a whirlwind of episodes. It really
I'll
has.
tell you. I commented last week that this is, this season of Loki is at least in my top 5.
Yes.
Definitely my top 10, possibly my top 5.
Yes.
After yesterday's episode, or this week's episode, it is definitely in my top 5.
Wow.
No question. It is definitely in my top 5 now.
Wow.
Nakaya says I will probably have to watch it again before the next episode. I don't blame you. I'm thinking about doing the same thing.
Yeah, because there was a lot that happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot that happened, and I love that they took the angle and approach that they did.
Yes.
Because let's face it, if they didn't do this, it would have kept people asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Like the whole first season where we saw the magazines of the jet skis and everything with Mobius, we thought maybe he owned one. Maybe he did. I don't know. What are you doing?
Hang on.
He's distracting me. What are you doing?
Can you hear it?
No, I can't. Now I can. What are you doing? Are you playing the game?
It's the intro. I'm finishing downloading the game.
Oh, well, there you go. He's finishing downloading the game. Good job, my friend. Good job. I'll allow it.
I try.
I'll allow it. You do what you need to, and we'll just keep doing what we need to.
Well, I will.
It's true. It's very true. You will.
Whether you like it or not.
Love it. Love it. I love it. I'm trying to get this other command up, and it's not letting me. I don't know why. But I will get it up and running. So anyway.
I would have to agree with you, though. If they hadn't done this the way they did, there would be a shitload more people sitting there going like Nakaya and myself and Kay all did like, what?
Yeah. Because we start the entire episode off with the bright light. The bright light from the last episode.
The blinding light.
We thought, hey, we're going into the light. The light at the end of the tunnel has arrived. Now what? But we see that the light starts going down, and we see that Loki opens up his eyes, and he sees he's the only one around. It's empty. The TVA is empty. But we start seeing him time slip again.
Mm-hmm. He was not happy when that happened.
Well, that had to hurt for him.
Well, yeah.
So the time slipping condition returns, and the TVA is going into the fail-safe mode, where basically everything is going, freeze, stop. Shit's gonna hit the fan.
I think it was emergency protocol 23.
Yes.
I think it was.
Yes. And while he was doing this, he time slipped to when he was in the TVA by himself. Nobody was there. He walked through and he time slipped.
But actually, he time slipped forward
Yes.
on this one.
So, well, yes and no. So as he's walking around, he's like, hey, where is everybody? We start to see things start going into the spaghetti string.
Mm-hmm.
What is it they called it? There was a term for it. I think they used spaghettification is what they called it. Spaghettification.
Or spaghettified.
Yes. So everything's just turning into spaghetti and going. He takes his coat off and he time slips. Only this time he time slips where he sees himself at a counter, at like one of the desks. And at first I thought it was him time slipping into the past, but you didn't see anybody else running around. So
there was nobody there, and he's standing there holding a book.
Yes, the TVA handbook to be exact, which kind of worked out to his advantage. But we'll get into that.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
We'll get into that because as he grabs the book, he sees himself time slip in with the coat on right by the doors, and he hears himself say hello. And that's when everything starts to crumble. Everything starts to spaghettify again.
Yeah, that was really weird.
It really was. But why do you think it was weird?
Well, I think it was a hint to him. I think, and it's almost like the timeline or something within the timeline other than He Who Remains, okay, is trying to help him. So it time slipped him to walk in, not, as he basically he got knocked through the doors as he time slipped to that spot.
Right.
And saw himself standing there holding the TVA handbook, looking through it.
Right.
And then he goes, hello, and it's gone.
Yep.
So it's all, to me, it's like there's something or someone within the timeline itself.
Yes.
That is trying to help him. And like I said, other than He Who Remains, other than Miss Clock. Miss
Minutes. Who was shut down, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, she got shut down. But it's like somebody's trying to help him. So I think that time slip happened to tell him, hey, you need to get the book.
Right. And it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
It did.
It worked. So here we have him now time slipping. He's got the handbook, and we see him time slip to Alcatraz in 1962, San Francisco, where Casey is escapee.
Did it take you a minute to figure out who that was?
Frank Morris, the guy who escaped from Alcatraz.
Yeah, but I'm saying, did it take you a minute to realize that was Casey?
No, not really, because I saw his face.
No. Well, I did too, but I didn't. It didn't really click of exactly who it was until he got into the real light. When he got to the ladder to climb up, and when he looked up, I had a good frame of his face. I was like, "Oh, that's Casey."
Right. Which to me was pretty cool, but at the same time, I'm saying to myself, "Okay, why is Casey in Alcatraz? Did everything just basically wipe itself and start over?" Which everything we find out that, yeah, technically that is exactly what happened. Because
I got to say this, the one thing that I noticed, and it probably really doesn't come into effect right now because the spaghettification really hasn't started happening other than in the first scene.
Yep.
The spaghettification kind of, it turns into the blip with the way that everything dematerializes and turns into ash?
Yes. Well,
So
this was
is
more
that like a tie?
so this was more the
Or just
spaghetti
coincidence?
effect than the blip, because you didn't really see things turn to ash. It just stretched out and strung out. It looked like
Well,
spaghetti.
yeah, but it's spaghetti, and then it falls apart. It turns into ash.
Yes.
It does it a lot. You see it a lot more later on in the show,
Yes.
in the episode. But my brain says, hey, that kind of looks like the blip. I wonder if there's a tie there or something. It just, my brain
I
reaching.
I think we'll find that out in the next episode. So let's not jump ahead.
Okay.
Only because I have a feeling some of my theories may come to fruition. But
Imagine that.
as Loki is talking to him, they keep saying to him, hey, why is he calling you Casey? Your name is Frank.
You told us your name is Frank. My name is Frank. I don't know who the hell this guy is.
Right. And then he time slips and disappears.
And they're like, what? Where'd you
They're
go?
like, what happened? What happened? So as that's happening, Hunter B-15 is currently a podiatrist in New York. And when we see New York City 2012, we see shit happening. There's smoke and buildings. So clearly this is after the fact that the attack on New York happened. But B-15, I almost said B-52. That would have been great. B-15
Love Shack.
is helping a young girl who had broken her arm. Not from the attack on New York, just
No.
broke her arm from climbing a tree,
Climbing trees.
being a kid. Okay. And as she's leaving the hospital room, Loki time slips in and says, you're not going to believe this, but hi.
Hi.
And then disappears. Time slips away. So as of right now, he can't control what's happening. But in my mind, I think he actually is kind of controlling it because he's trying to find his friends.
But he doesn't realize it.
Right. He has no clue what's going on. So from there, he time slips to see in front of a dealership where we find out finally what Mobius's past life was like. And he was a jet ski salesman by the name of Don in Cleveland, Ohio.
With 2 kids.
With 2 kids, yes, with 2 sons. Which also means he's not that far from where Sylvie was. Just pointing it out there.
Right.
Who has also disappeared. He tries to sell Loki a jet ski and doesn't happen, and then he time slips and finds OB, which is even better because OB we see in a book retail store trying to buy his own book that he wrote as a science fiction writer, even though he's a theoretical physicist
At Caltech.
at Caltech by the name of A.D. Doug.
Right. And he was slipping the book on the shelves in this bookstore.
Yes, to try and buy it.
Yes.
Clearly, it didn't work. But Loki felt OB was his best bet when it came down to things. You know? He really did. You could see he was like, thank God. Thank God you're here. Okay?
Mm.
So Loki comes up with an idea of traveling back in time to before the temporal loom decided to go all hell breaking loose and full on destruction and spaghettifying everybody, if that's a word. But OB or Doug says, no, you can't. It's impossible. There's no way. You need to learn how to control your time slipping first. But then he also says something really cool. He goes, but maybe you have a chance because you always end up near somebody that you know. Case in point, OB, and this was the longest he had been with anybody before time slipping back.
Mm-hmm.
So OB was his point of contact, really, to get things flowing for him. Because Doug thinks, okay, well, if the TVA does still exist in some point in time,
Right.
that's the reason that Loki is still time slipping. But according to him, we need everybody's aura. So what if you need everybody together?
Right. Well, and the thing of it is I think the reason that he spends so much time with him is because inside of Loki,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think is the thing inside the timeline that's doing this.
Yep.
He knows that OB is the only one who can understand the science
Yes.
of what has to be done. Because if you think back to when he first got there, he's like, oh, I'm an author, and Loki's like, well, I'm screwed. and he's like, yeah, I'm doing my full-time job at Caltech until I can quit so I can go into full-time writing. He's like, oh, so you are a scientist.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think that might be why he spent that much time there with him.
Absolutely. So we fast forward a little bit now, and he says, well, listen, what if you get everybody together? Because according to you, the temporal aura is what's surrounding everybody. Let's get them back together and we can hopefully fix this.
Right.
But he also says, I wish I had one of those temp pads that you were talking about. And this was the coolest thing. Loki just pulls out the book that OB wrote out of his pocket and says,
well,
here.
because Loki asked him, how long would it take you to make one?
Right.
He's like, well, I don't really have the technology. It could take me a lifetime.
Yep.
And that's when it clicked. And he's like, oh, wait.
Mm-hmm.
What if you have the knowledge?
Yeah.
That was cool. That was cool because that right there wrapped everything up in a ball as far as what was going on in that scene and why that scene was happening.
Oh, yeah. And it fit in perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly. So from here, he says, all right, I can do this. Let me stretch and concentrate. And
Which is the funniest part of the episode, by the way.
Which one?
So this is the funniest part of the episode, by the way.
Hands down. It reminded me of when Bruce Banner was trying to change into the Hulk during Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, no, I need to concentrate here. Nope, it's not working. Not working. But
funny as hell.
But that's when he just all of a sudden time slips without control, and he time slips to where Don is, or Mobius.
Right.
And while he's there, he's talking to him about how things are and how things could be. And oh, by the way, you're a part of the TVA, not a jet ski salesman.
Right.
And he starts, telling him about this stuff. And that's where Obi, or Doug, meets up with him with a functional temp pad.
Yeah.
And the coolest answer from Loki was, how'd you build that so fast?
Well, I wouldn't call 18 months fast.
Yeah.
Well,
Wouldn't
19.
call that fast, but here it is. At least we have it. And the cool thing is, the way the doorways opened Did you notice the doorways were kind of on the fritz because of the technology of the time?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to remember, he built that in 1994. So 19 months from when he ran into him in 1994, big, thick laptop.
Right. I mean, this tent pad is like, this wide and laptop in the middle of it. And
Yeah. Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah.
Which is great. But according to OB, it also, aside from the 19 months, it also cost him his job and his marriage. So that kind of just went out the window.
Yeah, and nobody even said, well, I'm sorry about that.
No one apologized.
Not one. Not one.
One person apologized. And I'm thinking to myself, how did OB become part of the TVA to begin with? You know?
Good question.
Especially if nobody apologized to him. It's crazy. So from here, what would you say? We're about halfway through, right? We're getting the band back together again, right?
Well, and that was the example that he gave him, because Loki wasn't understanding, what he was talking about.
Right.
About what they needed to try to accomplish, or what he felt they needed to try to accomplish.
Right.
Of getting the band back together. So he used the cup with the pens, and each one of the pens, because every time he slipped to one of his friends. He slipped either to Mobius or to B-15,
right?
Or to, he even flipped to McDonald's.
Yeah.
So and once he kind of used that as an example for him, Loki kind of figured out what he needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But first he had to figure out what it was that he was trying to do in order to try and help figure out and control the time slipping.
Yes. Yes.
And that was when he went into the
like, hey,
the convulsions, kind of, is what I call it.
Buckaroo. Like, hey, that's the way. I like it.
Right.
However, things obviously don't go very well, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. Will says the painful drop between time. Yes, the painful drop between time. By the way, if you're just joining us,
good to see you, Will.
Good to see you, first of all. And second of all, we have a sponsor, Marvel Strike Force. That's right. You can scan the QR code. Help us out. Download the game. Play it. Enjoy it. Tell us what you think. Create your own Marvel team and have some fun. You can download the game by scanning the QR code right on the screen, as well as downloading the app right from our own Discord / Twitch channel as well, once I get the link up and running. But right now, scan the QR code, download the game, install it, and play it. I just chose Spider-Man, by the way, because, Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Help us out. It'll be good. We're also obviously in the process of talking about Loki episode 5 of season 2. And at the same time, Loki's going on this wonderful trip to get the band back together. He's already got Mobius. He's already got OB. Now let's go back and recruit B-15. Let's go back to exactly when he time slipped out, walk through the door and go, hey, let me explain, but come with me if you want to live. I mean, it's basically what he's doing. Come with me if you want to live. It is. That's what he's doing, which is perfectly fine. Because they wouldn't go with him unless some part of them believed something was going on. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, none of these people have any memory of Loki. Not one. Except for OB or Doug, obviously, because he already spoke with him. He already talked to him, talking science, mentioning his stuff he wrote in his book. It's there. It's all there. So for him, it's a little easier. But for everybody else, not so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Obi's working with him now. So.
Right. Until he gets to 1982 in Broxton, Ohio, where he's going to get Sylvie, because they need Sylvie. She was in the room. She was in the room when everything all went to hell in a handbasket.
But he was there but one.
But, and again, theory. This is a theory. Here's the biggest thing. With Sylvie, she's the only one who retained her memories. The only one.
And he's like, wait a minute. You know me? Well, why wouldn't I?
Well, yeah, why wouldn't I? Why not? Why not? But at the same time, as Loki goes through all of his, his spiel, they decide to go to a bar and have a drink. And that's when things start getting interesting. Because
they have a very interesting conversation.
A very interesting conversation. And it's more of, pertaining to both Sylvie and Loki about what they both want. Sylvie is selfish.
Well,
she wants a life for herself.
Yeah, I mean, Sylvia's pretty simple. That's all that Sylvia's wanted the entire time, is a life for herself.
Yeah, that she never really got.
Right. But, I mean, Loki is an entirely different case.
Yes.
And what I thought was really cool about this conversation is it showed the struggles that Loki was going through on the inside.
Yeah.
Of what he was dealing with and how thoughts of the TVA were overpowering everything else that was going on in his head and in his heart.
Yeah.
And it took this deep conversation, which didn't last very long. It was maybe a 5-minute conversation.
Give or take.
It took this deep conversation with Sylvie for him to figure out why he was really doing this. And once he came to that realization, that's when things started to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like somebody flipped on a light behind him that cleared up everything in front of him.
And again, he's thinking the same thing. And at first, because I did like his response of, well, yeah, and she even said it, that he's trying to redeem himself for his past actions. But his response was, no, I'm trying to save the TVA. I'm trying to save the world. And she just saw right through that.
Like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
That's not it.
No, you're not. Try again.
I liked his very last question.
Mm-hmm.
The very last question in the conversation was, once he realized that the real reason that he was doing this was because he wanted his friends back. He didn't want to be alone.
Yeah, no, he didn't want to be alone at all.
Which is totally understandable. Nobody really, well, I won't say nobody, but 99% of people don't want to be alone.
Right.
There's always that 1% out there that is better if they're, all by themselves. But his last question was, well, if, he's like, if everybody else is in the lives where they belong, where do I belong?
Right.
And you think about it, in his situation, that was a very, very deep question.
Oh,
and it was her comment of, you need to let these people live their lives that they deserve.
Absolutely.
And that's why I say that this is the deepest conversation that we have seen in just about any show that we have reviewed other than Mandalorian.
which was just as
Mandalorian
good.
has had some pretty deep conversations in it.
Oh yeah, hands down, hands down, and it's only getting better.
Mhm.
Oh yay, it worked!
Yay!
Yay! So anyway, the other thing that we see is Loki goes to get the drink,
And it's gone.
and it's gone.
It's like, where's my shot?
It's spaghettified and disappeared, which is now going to make things even more interesting because, Sylvie left
Mm-hmm.
because probably just as pissed, but
Well, I think she left because she had gotten him to the point that he needed to get to really understand why he was doing what he was doing.
yes,
And then it was time for her to go.
yes,
There was no more reason for her to stay there. So she had her shot and said, "See ya."
yeah,
Walk out the door.
yeah. But all he wants is his friends. He actually has purpose. He wants to save his friends because he has friends. And if you think about it, his character growth from the first Thor movie to Avengers to Dark World to Ragnarok to Infinity War, where he died, to Endgame, where he got away and branched off on another timeline, and now being with the TVA, he has grown so much where he's not that spoiled brat anymore that wants to rule the world or rule Asgard.
Yeah,
He's
he has totally changed. And he made the comment to Mobius
Yeah.
when he was trying to explain to Mobius who he was.
Yes.
He's, you saved my life
Yep.
when I first got to the TVA because you saw something in me that I didn't see.
Yes. And
Yeah.
from there, he decides, okay, you know what? Maybe Sylvie's right. Maybe I should write my own story. And he goes and returns to everybody. He says to all of them, I'm done. I can't help you. We can't-
You guys just need to go back to you guys need to go home.
Need to go home. Go back to the people you care about. You know?
Mm.
And as
Real quick though, one thing I found really, really interesting in this
Mhm.
is how much the sub characters or Don and
Yeah.
Frank and those, how much they stuck to the sub characters' personalities and everything.
Yeah.
With Don trying to sell her a jet ski, with
Yeah.
Frank stealing the freaking thing that whatever it was that he stole and put in his pocket.
Yep.
And I thought it was really neat that they really stuck to those personalities during this part of the show.
Oh, yeah. Hands
You know?
down.
Because they could have been like where they have a realization and they start to remember things or something like that. But I love the way that they went through this.
Yes. And I loved this next scene.
Mm-hmm.
Because this next scene,
Made the show.
it really did. It
It made
really
the show.
did. Because now you have Sylvie going into a record store. She knows the guy behind the counter. She goes there all the time. And he suggests a specific record because of the mood that she's in. And that this will help her get out of that mood.
This will either help you get out of the mood you're in, or it will make it much worse.
Yeah. He was very honest with her.
And she's like, "You need to work on your sales pitch."
Yeah. So he gives her the record, and she goes to the back, and she sits down. She puts it on. She's got her headphones on. What song was that? I forget. What song was that played?
I could not tell you.
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Look it up.
Let's see.
Well, you talk. I'll look it up.
Okay. So she puts on the headphones, and as she's starting to listen to this, you can see she's getting lost in that moment. She's getting lost in the music that was just, presented to her. And as things are happening, they're cutting back to Loki, and hey, guys, go home. It is what it is. We're done. And we go back, and now we start seeing her entire timeline that she's in start to spaghettify. The buildings start turning into spaghetti.
Okay. The song that she was listening to
Yes.
is Oh Sweet Nothing
Yes.
by Velvet Underground, released in 1970.
Which makes it perfect for this scene. It really did. It made it perfect for this scene because now everything's starting to spaghettify. And even
Right.
the guy behind the counter starts pouring his coffee into a coffee cup, and the cup is
the guy
gone.
walked in the door first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The guy that walked in the door.
The guy walks in the door. He opens the door. He comes in, and just as he comes past the door, he disappears.
Yep.
And the guy at the counter's looking over at the door, and he's gone. The door closes. The bell rings. Then the coffee thing. I mean, just
The
ending
reflection.
of this episode,
The
from this point on in this episode, is as epic
Yes.
as when they go inside the space whale's mouth
Oh, yeah.
to transport in Mandalorian 3.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, it is that
Ahsoka.
frigging epic.
Yep. So now we're seeing her entire timeline just start unraveling. It is gone. The guy behind the counter sees all the buildings starting to do the same thing. He jumps over the counter to try and save Sylvie, who notices what's going on because she can hear.
Well, she hears him yell her name.
Yeah, she hears him yell, and he coming at him, tries to grab onto him, and he just unravels. Which again reminds me of what was happening in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because now as everything around her is disappearing, she takes the amulet that He Who Remained had and goes and meets up with the guys and B-15, the girl. Because now her mind has completely changed. Yeah, my timeline's gone. Sorry, we got to fix this.
Yeah.
All hell's breaking loose. So Obi, or Doug, tries to grab the temp pad to see if everybody's temporal aura is there, and it's gone. It's already gone. And this reality now, everything is starting to destabilize, break apart, spaghettify, disappear, the works.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And we see...
Well, because, they're accusing Frank of stealing it.
Yeah.
And look, even told him, look, you can rob every freaking bank you want to after we get this fixed, but right now we need the temp. And he's like, I don't have it.
I don't have it.
Spaghetti.
Which is true, because the thing was massive to begin with. You can't hide that in your pocket. You just can't.
Yeah.
But now that
turns into spaghetti.
everything's destabilizing now. So now you have this bigger problem, because now Mobius, Doug, B-15, and Casey, and Sylvie all die.
All disappear. All get spaghettified.
All get spaghettified. And Loki just sits down. He knew he was defeated. And he even kind of just remembered what Sylvie said of, you're destined to lose. You're Loki. That's your lot. You're destined to lose. But that's when it hits Loki. And he time slips ever so slightly into the past.
Mm-hmm. So just before Sylvie disappears again.
Yep. And then he does it again.
But he controls it. It was, again, the way they did this was really, really cool because he's struggling with himself.
Yep.
Grabbing at all the spaghetti lines and everything, and as he touches them, they poof into dust and everything else, and all of a sudden it hits him. Wait a minute.
Yes.
He flashes back. You need to learn how to control your time slip.
Yeah.
That's my OB.
So,
But he realizes that the real reason, and again, I don't think he would have realized this without having the conversation with Sylvie at the bar.
yes.
The real thing that he was trying to do was to get his friends to see his friends, to save his friends.
Yeah.
And he tries it, and he time slips all the way back to before Sylvie came in. And then Sylvie comes in, and he's sitting there, and he looks over at OB, or Doug, right? No,
Doug
that
in
was
this
that
one,
was
yeah.
Mobius. And he's like, I controlled it.
Yeah.
I controlled the
That's
time
great.
slip. And the cool thing was he looked straight at Sylvie and goes, I can change this.
Yep. I can fix it.
I can fix it. I can change how this ends.
And there's only
And
one way to do it.
All that realization, you look at everything that he's gone through, you ran the timeline, but even everything that he's gone through in season 1 and up to now in season 2, the man has learned more lessons than anybody does in a lifetime.
Oh, sure. Especially his investigative skills alone.
Yeah. Just
Trying
in
to
these
find
two,
Sylvie.
season 1 and season 2. The Loki we knew at the beginning of this
Completely different person.
no longer exists.
Completely different person.
Which is amazing to see his transformation as it's gone through.
Yeah.
It's just really, really cool.
Yeah. So he gets to the point where after realizing that he can do this, he time slips to the moment before the temporal loom goes boom
Yeah.
and basically just focused on OB.
Yeah, he's right there where he slips to the point where OB is watching he who remains go down the steps after he gave him the directions of what to do.
Yep. And it worked.
It's like, oh, shit.
It worked. That's what he needed. It worked.
It's where he needed to be.
It worked so well that basically it's I can do this. And then the episode ended.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah.
I can picture what he needs to do in my head. I can kind of picture a timeline in my head of what he needs to do in order to stop the timeline from imploding.
Yes.
But at the same time, my brain's going, no, that won't work.
Yes. Yes.
So it's like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in episode 6.
And we have yet to get a cutscene.
I know.
We've only had one, and that was with Sylvie.
Mm-hmm.
So we have yet to get one.
And that was in episode 1.
Yeah. Now, with all great episodes, obviously there's Easter eggs.
Oh, but of course.
One of which pertains to what I had mentioned before with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where Scarlet Witch kills Reed Richards in the spaghettification.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Same exact thing that's happening. But did you notice that the title card basically gave away the entire episode. Did you know that?
I would have to look at it again.
So think about this. In the entire episode, when they were getting everybody together, everybody was already lost to begin with, right?
Right.
But if you notice the title card, the letters were disappearing. The Loki letters for the entire sequence were disappearing one by one.
Yeah, instead of just changing.
Instead of just changing and keeping Loki, they all disappeared. So each letter just randomly, out of nowhere,
Good point.
disappears.
Good point. Good
Okay.
point.
So that alone tells you, hey,
Even the guy's like, oh, yeah.
yeah, see, I write shit down. Now,
It would take us 2 hours just to go through my stuff if I wrote shit down.
that's true.
So I just roll with you.
That's true. Now, 1962, where they time slipped to Alcatraz, where we met Casey or Frank Morris. This is kind of a far-fetched one, but if you noticed, every single time he time slipped to a different time, it was always a branched timeline.
Yeah.
So it would say the year and then branched timeline. Obviously, Alcatraz is a real tourist attraction. We know this, but it was
What happened
also
with Frank Morris?
Which one?
With what, Frank Morris escaping from Alcatraz.
Absolutely, but it's also a setting for X-Men: The Last Stand. Because in X-Men: The Last Stand, that's where their battle was, on Alcatraz.
That's at Alcatraz, yeah.
Magneto took the Golden Gate Bridge and twisted it and picked it up and plopped it right on the island.
That's the easy way to do it without getting your feet wet.
Right? Which, obviously, Casey's variant, this is his reference to season 1. So, Frank Morris, obviously, we see him enacting the escape from Alcatraz, but the quote is, if they catch us, they're going to gut us like fish, which is one of the first interactions between Loki and Casey in season 1. Because Loki tells Casey that he will gut him like a fish. And Casey goes, "What's a fish?"
Right.
So
the things that were nipping at your heels when you were escaping Alcatraz.
Right. Another thing that they reference, obviously, is Frank's escape from Alcatraz. Real life, it happened.
Although we don't know that the ending that they show was actually what happened.
Right. Because we also had a feeling that Loki was DB Cooper too. And again,
right.
So there's 2 Easter eggs referencing real life things. Okay.
Right.
According to one of the articles that I read on these Easter eggs, his time slipping? No, his time slipping represents the show's cast, which I thought was interesting because they say, while he's time slipping between Alcatraz, B-15's hospital, Obi's lab, and Mobius's jet ski store, and the McDonald's, before the reveal that Loki was being unwittingly pulled to the points in the multiverse that represent each character's temporal aura, these quick shots served as a neat reference to characters Loki thought he had lost and foreshadowed that eventually revealed to why Loki was found at these specific points in time. So when he was going to and from and time slipping, he had no idea that they were all there. No
Right.
idea.
Yeah, when he did the quick slips right at the beginning of the show.
Yep. And it went from one to the other to the other.
Right.
Now, the other, this is a good one. This Easter egg, I missed the first time I watched it, but I caught the second time. Remember G.I. Joe?
Oh, but of course.
Remember a character by the name of Zartan?
Oh, yeah. Who could forget Zartan?
Zartan Contingent. Direct reference to G.I. Joe. Because the book that OB wrote, or Doug, is named
Right.
the Zartan Contingent.
Mm-hmm.
So not only does it tie to G.I. Joe, but it also refers to the shapeshifters in Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Because it's spelled differently, the Zartans, but it's still a tie. And not for nothing, but Marvel did actually do the G.I. Joe comics for a while. So, yep. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, there was a lot of neat references
This one had a lot of them.
and kickbacks in this show that were very interesting. I mean, I didn't catch a lot of the ones that you mentioned, but
Well,
things that it caused to pop into your head.
yeah. Well, the other thing is, and if you noticed, the OB's lab that they were
it looked like his lab in the TVA.
It looked exactly like his lab in the TVA. The only difference is windows.
That was the first thing that I said with Kay. I said, "That's his lab." She's like, "What are you talking about?" So we actually went back and looked at the widescreen view.
Yep.
Like, yeah, it does look like his lab because it was the big tube that came down in the middle. For me, that gave it away. I said, "Wait a minute, that's his lab.
Yeah.
That's his lab at the TVA."
Crazy, right? Crazy. Now, the other thing is a callback to the show's first episode. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Where Loki tries to control the time slip, which I believe I mentioned, minimal
Yes, you
effect. But they're tying it to Loki. I tied it to Infinity War because as he's trying to use his magic in the TVA was when he first encountered Ravonna Renslayer and he couldn't do anything.
Yeah, your powers don't work here.
They don't work here. Good luck. Another one, and this one I'm surprised I missed it the first time.
Yeah, it happens to all of us, man.
And the reason being is because this one has to do with Mobius's kids. Because the door number for Mobius, or
The house number.
yeah, the house number 1049. Now, for a lot of people, you wouldn't know what it is. I missed it. I missed this. I had to go back and look for it, and sure enough, I did. 1049 is a reference to another Earth in Marvel Comics. And it's the Earth that Franklin Richards, son of Reed and Sue Richards, created. That's how powerful this kid is. Yep.
There
He
you go.
created this whole nother Earth. So, yeah, there's that. There's also Zaniac. You remember Zaniac from the episodes
The
beforehand?
video game at the bar.
Video game at the bar was Zaniac, based off of the movie that they made.
Oh my God.
And then, of course, the the ending alone kind of ties back to the first episode of the first season, but it's more of Loki gaining new powers and how he's learning to control everything and doing what he needs to do.
Right.
Now, some other things have said that there is a post-credit scene.
I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything. However, if you go back and watch at the end,
Mm-hmm.
you can hear the words, "You died. Insert a coin, loser." Referencing,
Ready Player One.
no, the Zaniac.
Oh, okay. That's right. Okay.
Referencing the arcade game.
We've already had one person reach level 5.
Yay! Awesome sauce. So, in the long run, a lot of Easter eggs with this one.
Too many.
A lot. And we only have one episode left.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since this is episode 5, I get to go first,
Yes, sir. You do.
where I am giving this episode, because for me, it was not confusing. For me, I'm giving it 4.5 Loki helmets.
Ooh, nice.
Very well written, very well done.
Well, we're in an ad break right now if you want to hang on for a minute.
Yeah, I can wait. I mean, it's only about 30 seconds to a minute, but yeah.
45 seconds.
45 seconds. Well,
Yep.
that means
Well, this way they can hear what your reasoning is behind your 4.5.
well, that is true. That is true. Unless, of course, you're like Lady Death and you subscribe to the channel, which is even better. So,
Right. True.
4.5 Loki helmets.
Okay.
Very well written, very well executed, and not for nothing, but the way those characters stayed within their different characters for that timeline worked. It was perfect for it. It really was. Like you can't really argue with it,
Right. Very true.
So to me,
I
done
can
very
see where you're coming from.
It was very well done for me.
Yeah.
Very
I can
well
see where you're coming from, and I agree with you on all your points,
done.
and then some. Nikaya says, as of right now, I give it a 3.5 due to confusion, but
Due to confusion.
score may change upon rewatching.
Okay.
And she did love the spaghettification effect.
It was awesome, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was
All
awesome.
right. Like I said, I agree with every one of your points. I mean, the dedication the players had, or the actors had,
Yep.
to their new storylines.
Yep.
During this, I mean, emphasized by the fact that one, Mobius tries to sell B-15 a water ski, or a jet ski, and Frank steals the thing. I have got to say that this episode is one of the best written episodes of the entire series.
Oh.
Of the entire series, because of what they had to do and how they had to do it, and they pulled it off seamlessly.
They did.
They pulled it off seamlessly with the characters, with what each character went through. I mean, you look at the struggle that Mobius had with leaving his boys, but yet he wasn't leaving his boys because he was right there.
Right.
And he's still struggling and everything else. And then when Loki came in and says, you know what, go back to your time. Well, I thought everybody was in danger. Is it fixed now? And all, just amazing writing and amazing dedication to a character, a sub character.
Right.
For these actors. Great stuff. The timeline dying.
That was cool.
Sylvie in the record store. Each one of them dying right there in front of Loki. Especially when OB went. And the cool thing was they did all of this. They didn't make it feel like it took forever, but it didn't feel like it went too fast either.
Right.
The pacing and the timing and everything on this episode was amazing for what they had to do.
Oh yeah, hands down.
And I mean, it was, in my opinion, to this point, the best episode of season 1 and season 2.
Yes.
Without doubt. I'm actually going to give this episode 4.25.
Ooh.
4.25 Loki helmets. My highest rating for the entire series up to this point. Episode 4 would have had a 4, except for what I call the soprano effect that they pulled at the end of that. That really pissed me off. But I thought last episode was really, really good. Okay. This episode blows 4 away.
Wow.
And I'm very, very excited and anticipatory.
Oh,
big word.
Mark that down, folks.
If it's even a word, of what is going to happen in episode 6.
Should be interesting, that's for sure.
It's going to be really interesting to see, 1, how they tie all this up, and 2, how they leave it open for season 3.
It's so true. And I hope they do season 3.
I do too. I've actually, like I said, I'm really starting to like the Loki series and Loki as a character.
It's awesome.
So
it's awesome. Well, folks, that is this week's episode of Avenger Pretenders, sponsored by Marvel Strike Force. Want to be a superhero? Want to form your own team? Download Marvel Strike Force for your mobile phone or your tablet. Play your favorite characters, including Loki. Loki is one of those characters that you can play. I'm currently Spider-Man, but all you got to do is scan the QR code when it pops up on the screen. You can also go to the link that is in our chat, and we'll even post it in our Discord chat as well. So that way you can download it on your phone and help support the channel, which will be really great. The more supporters we get, the better off we're going to be. And it's actually a pretty good game. I just started playing it not too long ago. So did JT. I saw him playing it from time to time.
I haven't played it yet. I downloaded it, but I haven't played it yet.
It's there. He's ready to go. So for this week's Avenger Pretenders, thank you all for tuning in. We will be live next Monday for the season finale of Avenger Pretenders and the season finale of Loki with episode 6, which can be seen on Disney Plus at 9 p.m. on Thursday. Disney Plus does not sponsor this show, but it'd be pretty cool if they did, just like Marvel Strike Force. So with that being said, for JT the Redneck, I am the Geek. We will see you all tomorrow for the Sully Show, which will also be sponsored by Marvel Strike Force. And we'll be back next Monday for Avenger Pretenders.
And I got one hell of a dumbass of the week for you guys.
Oh, he does. He's ready to go. So, for both of us, have a great night, everybody. We will see you tomorrow for the Sully Show. Good night, everybody. We'll see you then. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, folks. Goodbye.